Hey y'all, this video is kind of the culmination of me doing a lot of pre-work to build up to a little jump course. We have done a ton of ground driving over the same pattern. I have my little yellow stationary targets kind of sprinkled in various places throughout this little course. This is also my first time using my Pivo camera tripod thing that like tracks me, so some of the zooming in and out is a little weird and it loses us a couple times, so sorry about that, but I'll do my best to try to explain what's going on. So over the last month or two, we've kind of been going over the same pattern. I've had the targets placed in roughly the same spots. Finnick is really familiar with these, and he's also really good at, if we are approaching a target and I say keep going, he knows to keep moving to pass that one and kind of go and look for the next. And I like using these because it kind of it leaves clues where the activity is still challenging for him, but not so challenging that he doesn't know what I'm asking. And I think for me, where I'm not always the perfect trainer that I would love to be, it helps translate between us and it helps me be more clear. The camera kind of loses us here. We're off in the distance, and here he's hopping up and then off of, we have like a little bank jump. And there's a target placed on top of that bank jump. And then we should come back into frame here. There we are. And so I'm just doing this kind of as his warm up. I'm not ground driving because he's got his saddle on, so I'm just kind of walking beside him. But I'm trying not to guide him with the reins. I'm trying to let him look for the targets and kind of guide himself. I will point sometimes because sometimes there's multiple targets and he's not sure which one I want him to go towards. But he's been really keen to work on this. And when I worked on it in the past, I used a bareback pad and my driving lines. And so I would ground drive him once or twice over the pattern, and then I'd hop on bareback and we would just walk it. I had all the jumps set super low so that he could easily walk over them, even though the last time we did it, he actually picked up a canter over that natural jump he just stepped over, and I cantered bareback on Finnick for the first time. Really grateful to have a click so he can, he'll stop. I mean, he'll stop with reins sometimes, but the click is a little bit more reliable. And for whatever reason, I feel like Wells just loves to walk right in between these jumps when we're coming over this gymnastics line. So Finnick wanted to trot those. And he also kind of loves to bulldoze Wells out of the way, so that might have been some of that motivation. But there we are, that was our little course, and so now I'm going to do it mounted with a saddle for the first time, and I'm gonna do it twice in a row. Usually when I do this mounted, I just do it once, and I do it mostly at the walk. He'll trot a little bit and then canter that one time, like I said. But because I have a saddle, and it is a little bit more challenging for them to go slowly over larger obstacles, I am hoping to get a little bit, do it a little bit more at speed. So my goal in this first round is to reward at pretty much every target along the way, and then depending on how he's doing, when we get to that far end of the field, where it's a little bit more shadowy next to that farm, our next door neighbors, he gets all the horses are a little wary of being over there. So I might take things a little more slowly over there, or actually what he prefers is not hanging out over there very long. So I might skip a little bit more there. He also, at this jump, this X, he on occasion has wanted to kind of drag me over to the left side where those jumps are a lot bigger, which is not something I really want to do at the walk. Oh, he doesn't do it here. I think he maybe does it in our second round. And so there's a target right here, and that's where he tends to get a little antsy, because that farm over there, for whatever reason, they get really freaked out. I think it's because they can hear things but not really see them through the brush line there. And then there's a tiny little hanging log jump back here, which you can't see us because we're very far away. and the camera kind of loses us again as we head towards the bank, and he loves the bank. So you kind of saw him hop up there and then down, and now we're coming up to the log jump. And that was kind of the first 2/3 of our little baby course, and we're coming down the home stretch. He's pretty keen to jump most of these. Over here, he also, I think there's a lot of birds in that brush over there, so sometimes he doesn't love to be on that side. All the horses just feel the most comfortable right in the center of this field. But yeah, that was our course, and he was really good. And so I'm gonna give him a little grass break and let him graze for a little bit, which I cut out most of that. And we're gonna do it again a little bit more at speed and kind of see how that goes. So in order for me to do that, basically what I do is I just say keep going if I know that I'm not gonna reward at the target. And that works for him because he's not lazy at all. I think he actually enjoys some of the more energetic movement. So I think like continuing the start and stop for him, I feel like gets like boring and tedious after a while. And this is just me like interpreting how I feel like he's acting. I could be way off base. I could be over anthropomorphizing. But to me, it seems like when it's like slow, deliberate stuff, he gets, once he's learned it and figured out like the pattern and what we're doing, he's like, all right, lady, let's move on. Like, let's do something fun. And again, that may very well just be my interpretation. But this time we are going to try to skip most of the stops and have a little bit more fluid jump course. And then, the next step after this would be to do that, do it without stopping at all. Or maybe just like one stop, picks up a nice little canter. I'm not cueing the canter, but that's where he was trying to take me over that center one, which is a fairly large coop, which I was not ready for. So I clicked and redirected him over the little X. But yeah, he loves to canter, I think, and he has a really lovely canter actually. So, and he's really good at picking up a trot when I just use a voice cue. And so here Wells steals the camera, which is kind of annoying because Finnick decided to jump the very big log, which I was not anticipating. And I'm kind of sad we missed that on camera. He landed with quite a bit of speed, so I decided to circle him, which turned out to be okay because then we were able to pick up the camera again, which happens here in a minute. Oh, I think he stopped to take a grass break. That's right. He decided to jump a really big spot in the log that's just off to the right side of the screen, and the log kind of sticks out at that point, and he really took like a big leap, and we landed kind of funky. And so I gave him a big reward because it was kind of a funky landing, and then I let him have a little grass break because I felt like it was a lot. And I was proud of him for committing to where he decided to jump the log. Because I'm really, with this, like, I'm really not doing a ton of steering. I'm doing a little bit to guide him, but honestly, the targets are what's helping me steer and helping me, the targets are helping me teach him rein cues and reinforcing those rein cues. So, without them, he will steer a little, but it's still not solid. So, the stationary targets on the ground are, they've maybe become a little bit of a crutch to our steering, but I think they've also helped me translate steering without having to be too aggressive with my reins. So here we pick up the camera again to finish the last this little natural, little bobble there. I think he was maybe gonna run out, and I think my instincts took over and made him not run out, which I should have just let him do what he wanted to do. But here's the home stretch here. I was glad to give him a positive jump. Those last 3 were really nice, and he was pretty easy to go through there. So yeah, it's hard when you're teaching them to do some of the bigger stuff like jumping, because you can't always keep it not aversive. I think that going over that log a little funky, I'm sure my position wasn't perfect, and I'm not sure how the landing felt to him. So we were all done, and I usually, like, before I get done with something that's more challenging like this, I try to do a few just like really simple cues and reinforce them just to kind of leave, like, I don't know, a good taste in their mouth, so the last thing they remember is not that they had to do the hardest thing they'd ever done. And you know, because I think if we go into sessions and we just like ramp things up and they escalate over time and never come back down, I think horses learn that things are just going to get harder the more they do. They're always going to get harder. So if you can kind of have like a non-linear approach to your sessions as far as like difficulty level or intermixing activities or behaviors that they like to do versus ones that are like maybe a little more challenging or ones they're less have less reinforcement history with, I think that can be really helpful. So that's just something I try to do. So that's what we're doing here. And yeah, it was not perfect, but it was something. And yeah, we kind of almost have like, we've done like a 4 jump course without stopping before, but this one had significantly more and we traveled more of the field. So I'm really proud of him, and it was a lot of fun, and I will continue posting stuff like this too, and probably the pre-work as well.